Let's begin this half hour with a harsh reality for a young woman featured on a hit reality show. Natalie Morales has details. Natalie?
Well, Lester, 20-year-old Amber Portwood is on MTV's Teen Mom. She was arrested and jailed in Indiana this week and now faces felony charges in a storyline that was not expected to be part of the show.
You need to get off me. Amber?
No, I swear to God, I wish I was bigger than you. I'd beat your ass.
This is the confrontation that put teen mom Amber Portwood behind bars.
You want to hit me then?
The episode seen by millions last September showed Portwood slapping, kicking, and cursing at her ex-fiancé, Gary Shirley, as their 2-year-old daughter, Leah, looked on.
You shut the
When the scene aired on TV, the police department in Anderson, Indiana, was flooded with calls from outraged viewers.
Get out!
I'm keeping her for a while.
Police opened a criminal investigation, and on Monday, the Madison County Prosecutor's Office charged the 20-year-old with 2 felony counts of domestic battery, 1 felony count of neglect of a dependent, and 1 misdemeanor count of domestic battery.
She understands that this was a decision she didn't really have control over, so we're just going to do our best to respond and keep her family together.
In October, Portwood appeared on an MTV reunion show and claimed she didn't even remember the incident.
Were you blacked out or whited out? Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
You didn't even know what you were doing.
I don't remember it being like that. I feel like I hit him one time, and I watched him hitting him multiple times.
Amber, do you wish you hadn't done the show on
Late Tuesday,
MTV?
Portwood posted $5,000 bail and was released from custody with court orders to stay away from her daughter and her ex.
This will give her some time to consider what she's done and certainly to get help, but most importantly, to give some measure of comfort and safety to her child.
For her part, Amber Portwood maintains her innocence. She faces up to 3 years in jail and a $10,000 fine if convicted. And we reached out to MTV. They said they have no comment on Portwood's arrest. Lester?
Natalie, thanks. Gail Saltz is a psychiatrist and a Today contributor. Wendy Murphy is a former prosecutor. Good morning to both of you. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning.
Wendy, let me start with you. 3 months for charges to be filed. Does that take some sting out of this, some legal sting?
Well, you know, it's an interesting question, Lester, and certainly the defense is going to raise it at a minimum with the jury if it ever gets to that point. Why, if this was all about the safety of the child and this poor man being a victim of domestic abuse, did it take so many months for prosecutors to bring charges? These are not complicated facts. You know, it's on video. What took so long? I think ultimately it'll be a tough issue to make much of as a defense tactic, but I think it's an important question for the prosecutor to answer. What took so long?
In the meantime, you've got Exhibit A playing over and over again right here, and you have the public that stepped forward and made the calls. How does the public play a role in this, and does that help or hurt the prosecution?
You know, again, a really good question. Prosecutors should not be making decisions to bring these kinds of serious charges based on how many emails they get. You know, that's not the way the justice system works. On the other hand, Lester, I think it's a terrific thing that these charges are being brought, in part because I'm worried that reality television is making entertainment, you know, in terms of violence, something we should be excited about. I hope that this puts the brakes on the idea that violence should be entertaining.
Well, that's a good point to bring Gail in here. You say reality television. I think you both understand there's a performance art that comes along with so-called reality television. How does that play, Gail?
You know, I think it's very concerning. It's desensitizing all of us to what behavior is acceptable. This is, even if it's not illegal, it's immoral. And, you know, hopefully, we can only speak with our television sets, but so far we've been speaking that we want to see this kind of thing, and that's very disturbing. It's a bad message for adults. It's a bad message for children. The only good thing I could say about this is that hopefully this would raise the awareness of domestic violence in terms of men, because I think this is very much in the closet that there are women who hit men. And men don't want to talk about it because it's very shameful. Exactly, and say anything. There aren't shelters for men. There aren't systems for men, because this is really kind of kept under covers. And the fact is, it absolutely happens. It absolutely robs a man of self-esteem. It can be dangerous. I mean, women have killed men in domestic violence.
You mentioned children watching. Well, there was a child in the room, Amber's 2-year-old here.
Yes.
At that age, could she be affected by it?
Absolutely. You know, we even pre-verbally, kids have memories, they incorporate them, things are traumatic, and it definitely affects them. I would be very concerned about this child because the fact is that children who see domestic violence are much more likely to become victims or much more likely to become perpetrators of it. And I think that she would be at great risk with a mother this volatile and this potentially violent.
Wendy, Amber's been released, as we noted, on a $5,000 bail. She's been ordered to stay away from her ex, also her daughter. Could she ultimately lose custody of her daughter?
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to be charged with a crime to lose custody of your child for things like neglect and certainly exposing your child to your own form of violence. I don't see that happening necessarily, Lester. You know, she doesn't have a record. She's a young mom. But, you know, she should take a lesson here. She thought she was winning ratings for this television show, and now she may well land in jail.
And I've got to ask you, it was a television show. There were cameras rolling. There were producers in the room. Is there any culpability there? Is there any legal jeopardy that those who witnessed this firsthand might be in?
You know, technically the answer is yes. I don't expect charges, but under Indiana law, unlike most states, any person, not just a caregiver, which is typical in most other states, any person who witnesses the neglect of a child is mandated to report. And as far as we know, no one at the television show reported or apparently cared about the well-being of the child or the child's father.
We'll have to end right there. Wendy Murphy, Dr. Gail Saltz, good to have you both on this morning. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks.